second. Okay, that's fine. How's everyone doing? Sorry, I was just making a post on Discord for you all. Usually, I make this before the stream starts. Well, it's a weird thing. I want the stream to be started so that the link actually goes to a live stream. So I kind of write it, then start the stream, then send it. I got like halfway through writing it, and then I was like, oh, I should start the stream because that's how my brain was working. Or not working. So yeah, anyways. There we go. That's good enough. How are you all doing? How are you all doing? All right. All right. Oh, that music is terribly loud. There we go. You know what I should do? You know what I should do while we're sitting here waiting? I should update my Twitch alerts key. That's what I should do right now. That's what I'm going to do. Let's see. I'm trying to think of. Okay. I got this. Let's see. Copy and paste this. This here. How's everyone doing? So I'm just getting this token for Twitch. and then our Twitch alerts will work, which will be kind of cool. Be kind of cool, right? It's always nice when something like that. I really need to spend some time fixing that, right? I really need to spend some time fixing that. I would like to get this set up where it does it properly. Oh, I gotta sign back in. Let's see. Gotta get this. Oh, this is gonna, one second. I gotta two-factor authenticate. Gotta pull up my password manager. Tell you what, because of hackers, signing in is painful. And I predict in 20 years, because of hackers and AI, signing in is going to become more painful. That's just my prediction if I had to. That's my... In 20 years, the reason AI is going to make hacking passwords better is because in 20 years, when the AI bubble collapses, we're going to have so many spare GPUs. What would used to be well, they could get through your password in 12 years. It'll be oh no, they could do 1 a minute because they have these spare GPUs sitting around with nothing else to do. There we go. Brazen, my brazen take there. Oh wait, it says I forgot my password. Is that? Oh, I'm a dum-dum. Okay. I don't think I forgot my password. Well, I mean, more importantly, my command line or my password manager didn't. We're good. Didn't forget the password. And no, I didn't show it. I know what you're thinking. All right, who's ready for the news? I'm an hour late, I know, but Twitch alerts should be working now, which is pretty cool. What I need to either do is scriptify what I do and just do it every stream, or I need to go all out and do what they want me to do is do the full-fledged OAuth. They won't give me a token to act as. They want me to do the full-fledged OAuth, where basically I have to have a server running at all times, where when my token expires, I request a new token and get that and store that. So that's probably something we need to do. You ready? Okay. Cool. All right, we'll get going. We'll get going. Well, welcome. Thanks for joining. We have a couple things to talk about in the news today. The very first thing is I don't pride myself on intellectual honesty. Intellectual honesty is a pillar where I try very hard to bring the most correct thing that I can. And I did mention last week that I could only find one person who had reported on it, which is sometimes suspicious to me. And I usually bring that up when I can only find one person to collaborate and I can't find the source of that information. A lot of times when I bring leak reports or hack reports, I look for the parent company's actual report and not just regurgitate other people's information. That being said, there was a report on an Amazon the Amazon all hands meeting that has been, I'm going to say, a little bit rebuffed. I say a little bit because they don't actually address some of the meat of the article, but I wanted to go into it. It's 3 paragraphs, so we're going to talk about the correcting the Financial Times report about recent Amazon.com service incidents and AI. So there's these. Okay, I said 3 paragraphs. It's actually 4, but this last one barely counts as a paragraph. We'll combine it with this one. It's 3 paragraphs. That's how I count paragraphs. We want to address inaccuracies in the Financial Times report earlier this week that suggested AI written code caused several outages on Amazon.com. That initial report sparked other media coverage, repeating those fake claims, even though the Financial Times corrected some of its initial assertions. In fact, only one of the recent incidents involved AI tools in any way. So at very first, they were like, oh, it was wrong that it was AI. And then it's like, well, but it was a little bit true that it was AI. And in some cases, the cause was unrelated to AI. And instead, our system allowed an engineering team user error to have broader impact than it should have. And this happens. This is like your standard distributed system. I mean, that, and you know what? This is actually one of the dangers of AI or vibe coding or those types of things, is addressing those broader impacts, and having that understanding is something that's really, really important. When you give a tool the ability to go beyond, that scope, it can just accidentally do things. Humans have the same problem. 2016, when US East 1 went down, that was from a human error that typed one too many zeros into the CLI command line. And it happens. That's just kind of, that's the reason you have guardrails on things, is so that script, it wasn't the human's fault that they accidentally typed a extra zero. It was more that the script and the process and the guardrails in place didn't protect from that happening. And so, yeah, that's fair. Much of the coverage of the service incidents has focused on the Amazon store's operations, meeting and a planned discussion of recent outages, reviewing operational incidents as a routine part of these meetings, during which teams discussed root causes and the goal of continuing to improve reliability for customers. This is also really, really important. This is like so far, it's all pretty standard stuff. Like, you address these things and talk about them, because what you can do is you can learn a lot. You cannot repeat other people's mistakes. You can do what I like doing, which is learning from other people's mistakes. You can let another team, another organization make the mistake, and then learn from it yourself. This is really great as an organization. Yeah. And Cairo is the one that decided an environment. The best way to fix the environment was to delete it and recreate it. That's the joke on that. During the meeting, the team reviewed a few recent outages and varied in impact and duration on Amazon website app that occurred over the course of a week and were separate, unrelated operational issues. Only one of the incidents involved AI-assisted tooling, which related to an engineer following inaccurate advice that an AI tool inferred from an outdated internal wiki. So their internal documentation is not any better than their external documentation. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Absolutely. Dota 2. This is only news because I was just following up on something I reported last week. So that's kind of the news. If you think, go watch the very beginning of this. Yeah, go watch the very beginning of this. So some reports also suggest AWS services were involved, or that Amazon introduced new approval requirements for engineers working on AI tools. That is false. These incidences discussed were limited to Amazon's retail store infrastructure and did not involve AWS. I think that this is an easy mistake to make. I believe when I looked at the reporting, it was all talking about Amazon store outages. But it's an easy one to make, right? Because this is also a weird distinction to make, in my opinion, because Amazon and AWS are so tightly interweaved. A lot of times, if AWS has problems, so does Amazon have problems. But I get it. It's a distinction. They are two different teams. So, kudos. So anyways, that is written by Amazon staff. Now, I had kind of wished that there was this is kind of light on facts, right? So last week when I reported on the New York Times, I had said that the internal memos weren't shared. That was one of the critiques of the Financial Times report at the time, was that there was I didn't have anything to actually go back to. I didn't have any concrete thing. It was just that, right? So this leaves a lot. And this does too. This doesn't actually give anything. It's by an anonymous, just Amazon staff, and it doesn't really go into a whole lot of detail. I had hoped that they would go into a little bit more, but this is what it is. So here you go. Scott B, how are you all? So we have a long string of security related news to go over. I actually weeded out quite a few of these that I didn't think were going to be relevant to software engineers, as there was quite a bit that was going on. There are a few that I wanted to give as kudos. Two really great things happened. It doesn't affect you anymore but it was great job. It's kind of like open source. Kudos to you. Awesome. I don't know what the word kudos means, actually, now that I said it. But it means good job. It means good job. And then there's a couple things that I do think will affect you and you should be aware of going forward. And then there's kind of the opposite of kudos. We have one opposite of kudos. And what I would say is a reminder of all of you to have a plan in place and ready. All right, let's start out with the kudos. Global phishing as a service platform taken down in coordinated public-private action. So a major phishing as a platform used to bypass multi-factor authentication, enable large-scale account compromise, has been disrupted following a coordinated international operation supported by Europol. I don't know how. I'm American. I have a hard time saying that word. The service known as Tycoon 2FA provide cyber criminals with a subscription-based toolkit. Anyways, there was Microsoft and Europol and then a bunch of other groups pitched in on this effort to disrupt this, and it was awesome. So the action was carried out by law enforcement partners and private sector stakeholders working hand in hand, coordinated by Europol's European Cybercriminal Center, EC3. I don't know why it's EC3. It's like EECC. It's like EECC. That's what it should be, not EC3. But whatever. I'm bad at naming too, so it's okay. EC3 sounds cooler. So anyways, kudos. Not much for us to do here. Nothing for you to do. Although understand that phishing as a service is a thing that exists, and you should always be taking phishing seriously. E2C2, would actually be really cool. E2C2, I agree with that. We could go with E2C2. I will contact my friends in Europol and let them know that I'll contact the Supreme Chancellor of Europe and let them know my thoughts on the naming convention. I know that they'll listen to me because I know their name very well. We're friends, effectively friends. Okay, so kudos. That's all I wanted to say. This is awesome. I'm glad to see people working on striking this down, and that's good. But also, take phishing seriously. I know that a lot of us are like, oh, those, I would never fall for those. But they're pretty good. And it's easy. And the thing is, as soon as you lose your vigilance because you think that you're impervious to phishing is when you're pervious to phishing. So just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. It's a good reminder. The last kudos of this one was I found 39 Algolia admin keys exposed across open source documentation sites. Kudos to this person who just helped a bunch of people. I actually love seeing this happen because basically this person found an exposed Algolia admin key on Vue.js, and then they were like, if Vue.js is not Vue.js, it's Vue.js.org. I always screw that up. Anyways, if Vue.js.org had this problem, do you know what? How many other DocuSearch sites also have this problem? And the answer is 39 of them. 39 of them. And so they basically did the same thing across these things and found 39 admin keys, and that was pretty cool. If you want to go read this, I would tell you to go read this. One of the things that I was going to take out of this was 35 of them were from just like scraping the front end, and then 4 of them were in your Git history. Remember, if you've checked in a key, this is a great takeaway. You can't just revert the key because it's still in Git history. And there's actually tools to go through Git history. So you can't just say, well, I made a new commit to remove it's in your history. You have to actually, I can link, if you found that you have a key in your history, let me know. I can send you instructions on how to actually remove that. There's several methods you can do, but just remember, you have to fight the mechanisms of Git because Git by default is going to keep that in history. It's kind of like when building a Docker image. You know, you have those layers and you actually have a history of those layers. So you have to be really careful that your final image doesn't have a key baked into it because of those layers that you used to build that image, right? It's just a thing you have to be aware of. And this is why having like multi-layered images are really good, because then you can have like a build image and then, you know, you can have your final stripped out image that doesn't have all that history. There's a lot of things that you can do, but it's a good lesson to have. Git history is a thing. Actually, Russell, I like that. I actually like that take. I know that there's like a push to just remove the key altogether, right? To make it where it doesn't exist anymore. But just rotate your key once you've removed the like just do a git revert, which will still be in your Git history, and then rotate the key. So I like that. I tend to also agree that I like that. The only weird thing is then you still have the key in your history, but it's not valid anymore, right? So anyways, just remember, you commit a key, you got to rotate it. Full stop. It's got to be rotated. And this is also where rotation, just standard rotation, like a lot of people will be like, if your key hasn't been compromised, there's no need to rotate it. And the thing is, you want to rotate them periodically anyways, because guess what? You don't know if you've leaked it, and it could be 3 years before somebody finds it, and then they can leverage it. So you might as well go ahead and rotate it. This is also why, from a security standpoint, I will harp about short-lived keys. Whenever you can leverage something like OIDC and a short-lived key, that is really awesome and amazing, because at the end of the day, if they steal a key that has access for 30 seconds, they won't even know how to leverage it by the time the key has expired, which is awesome. Okay. Anyways, kudos to this person. Also, Git history. Be on the lookout for it. This one is one that actually affects you, and a little bit of a flashbang. If you're using Ubuntu, which we're not, we are on the blessed operating system, by the way. If you're using Ubuntu, as many do, in 2004 and later, there is a CVE that allows unprivileged local attackers to escalate privilege to full root access. This leverages two different attack paths, which is kind of interesting in and of itself, but it has to do with Snap. And one of the things that you're wanting to look at here, I know that Snap is looking to be like this isolated, secure, kind of like a Docker for apps. One of the things that you want to look at here is the ability to laterally leverage these things, right? So if you're running Ubuntu servers, for example, and you want to say that like, oh, well, that's fine that we have this CVE because, well, the only access is through an HTTP server, right? But if they leverage something to get to that box and they can get to that box some other way and they don't have root, but you have this, now they can escalate their privileges on the local machine, right? So this is another call. Make sure that you have a way to patch these things, how to discover these things. The end of the day, you're going to have too many CVEs to patch everything on your system, whether it's lows and whatnot. There's just, you can't patch everything. But you got to be patching these high risk, high vulnerability things. And you have to have a way to patch them quickly and easily. This is why a lot of people love like containers, is because you can patch everything. You can update your container almost daily and redeploy it. And it's pretty awesome and amazing. But you have to think about the underlying thing that that container is running on, because that also still exists. I wasn't really going to talk. I thought I deleted this. It doesn't really affect you all. They got hacked. They got hacked. I was going to talk about this because the way this happened is this is just I feel like a broken record. I feel like a broken record, but like you've got to patch your software that you release. These people were taken by React 2 shell vulnerability. This is a vulnerability that you shouldn't be taken by right now because it happened long enough ago, right? This is a vulnerability that you shouldn't. I mean, if you were taken on day 0, sucks. It sucks. But if it's past day 0, you shouldn't have been taken by this. You should have updated. The entire React community released a ton of patches for each one of these. And it was a bit of a fire drill. If you guys remember, they released a patch, and then that patch had a vulnerability in it. So they had to release another patch a week later. So if you were part of the security teams, you had to go to teams and be like, you have to patch now, today, and deploy today. Full stop. And then like 3 days later, you're going back and you're like, you have to patch today, now, and deploy today. They were like, wait, we just patched this. And I was like, yeah, well, sucks to be you. Okay, go for it. So that being said, this is maybe just trying to show the importance of taking security, taking it seriously. You got to do it. And if your company isn't doing it, you need to start becoming the security champion. You need to be saying, we need to take this seriously. We need to know if these things exist in our application, and we need to work on patching them and spending time. That's the only reason I was going to talk about this, not because there was a breach, just you got to know what packages you're using. You got to scan them. And this is why. You will be taken. We're about to hit an ad break. We're about to hit an ad break. It's all, but dude, yeah, Vercel is an interesting company. Vercel is an interesting company, right? Because like, it's very interesting to me. They're an infrastructure provider, right? So like what they actually want to do is they want to sell you AWS infrastructure. They're effectively a AWS infrastructure reseller. And I know that they hate that that's my take on what they do. But that's like what their business model is, right? To be an AWS infrastructure reseller. And to do that, to resell AWS, they put their own stuff on top. So they're a layer on top of that. That's all bundled around this one JavaScript repository. It's a really interesting company that has done really well. Like, I'm not sitting here saying that they haven't executed on that like amazingly well. I think it's a like really interesting take that people don't think about a lot. Because like if you try to boil it down, like that's what I boil it down to as their sales pitch, is that we have a really interesting take on how you can deploy. That's really tightly bundled to this JavaScript library that we built. And if you leverage this JavaScript, and if we make this JavaScript library really, really awesome, deploying to AWS through us is going to be easier than deploying through AWS itself. Right? I think that's amazingly interesting. It almost feels like what Cursor wants to do, right? They want to say, well, buy AI through us. And if you know how to leverage Cursor, the agent, and you like VS Code, we're going to be better than the actual providers. Because in essence, Cursor is just a infrastructure reseller, an AI infrastructure reseller, right? I realize they have an agent that they also work on. So you're really buying their agent and their infrastructure reselling. I don't know. A way to pay more for AWS? Yeah, exactly. Now, I find Vercel to be very interesting. I don't particularly like it because I don't like how it shoehorns you into a couple things like Next.js. Because to me, Next is a leaky abstraction on top of React, which is a leaky abstraction on top of JavaScript, which is a leaky, like, I don't love the layers and layers and layers that have to go into that. And I'm personally not like a front end developer who has really loved React or whatnot. But I do think it's an interesting business model that they executed very well on, obviously. All right. So I know that there's been a lot of doom and gloom with security in the last few years. But some tech giants came together and said, hey, how about we donate $12.5 million to open source security? Let's put in $12.5 million. Now, I'm going to say that $12.5 million for the people listed here is kind of a small amount, but Anthropic, AWS, GitHub, Google, Microsoft, and OpenAI back the Linux Foundation initiative as AI increases the scale and complexity of software vulnerabilities. Now, a little bit of time last week, we talked about how AI has ballooned the number of attack paths just to our build infrastructure, right? And we're not even talking about the building of the AI models themselves or running in production, which also increase the scope of security. Now, I think that this is a good first step, but $12.5 million really isn't that much money when it comes to it, especially for these companies. Um, it's a good first step, and I'm glad that they're doing it, but also I think it's going to take quite a bit more. How can Anthropic and OpenAI? Because they are given a bunch of money. Also, a lot of the times you have to look at these. A lot of times these deals are interesting. And when people say $12.5 million, it could be over time. A lot of times it's over time. Sometimes it's like, well, it's $12.5 million worth of GPUs that we promised them and things like that. So sometimes you got to look a little bit into it. Famously, Nvidia will give you $100 million to buy its own GPUs, where again, it's not strictly cash that you might think of it. I don't know this entire deal itself, but anything to help the Linux Foundation to drive security, I think is a good deal. So kudos. Oh, $1 million credit for ChatGPT and Claude. I mean, it could be something like that, right? All right. Malicious AI assistant extensions harvest LLM chat histories. This one is something I take super seriously, and people have kind of made fun of me because, like, at work, I will not install plugins into my browser. And even personally, I only install a very, very few ones. Like, I really wanted to be able to basically use Vim in the browser where I didn't have to use the mouse to browse the internet. And I absolutely refuse because I can't find one that meets my standard of credibility, and their GitHub is up to the standards of maintaining like two-factor authentication and strict requirements on that, because you type your passwords into your browser, you do a bunch of stuff in your browser, and if you're giving a plugin that level of ability to see stuff or interact with how you type, then it's a pretty dangerous level of permissions, right? So at work, I don't use any plugins except ones specifically sponsored by the company that have been specifically vetted, because a lot of us do all of our work. If you use GitHub or GitLab, you browse that through your browser. Obviously there's command line tools that you leverage for it too, but how do you access AWS and all of your infrastructure? How do you access Azure? Usually through Azure Front Door, so which means you don't access it. Azure's there to be, I would say, looked at, but you can't look at it because the front door exists. It's there to exist, not to be seen. How do you access GCP? A lot of times you're using the UIs through a web browser. So I think it's really important. That being said, there are malicious AI assistant extensions that are harvesting LLM chat histories, as well as tokens, as well as things that you're doing on the internet. Yeah. My goal is to keep my children from closing my web browser. So like install Vim on it. Joke's on them. They can't get out of it. Question no one asked. How do you access GCP? Exactly. The question everybody asks is, how do you access Azure? Two different questions. So anyways, just be careful. Be careful out there. I know that's what I've been saying. We'll march on with the security stuff. How do you get around front door outages? They need like they need like Azure backdoor and like side window, like as services. I hope they create those services that are like a VPN service and something like that. Like Azure or not Azure, AWS and GCP have a cloud to cloud VPN that you can set up. The one when they do it with Azure, it should be called like Azure backdoor, or like side, kitchen entrance or something like that. 100%, that's what it should be called. What is this button for, Russell? All browsers need a button, a bit like the one the cert has expired. Do you want to continue at risk? Oh, getting around front door. Fair. All right. Byro, I can't. I sat here for like a full minute trying to figure out how I was going to pronounce this. I want to call it grab, Boript grab is what I want to say. Anyways, it is what it is. This is targeting Windows, so we don't really care, but it's leveraging GitHub Pages. So if you're a big GitHub Pages fan and you're a Windows fan, you might want to go into this. I didn't actually read too much into it because I don't ever look at GitHub Pages in Windows. So like, sucks to be you, but if that is you, you might want to look at this. You might want to understand. It's something to do with zip archives, with misleading GitHub pages, and the zip archives don't have the package you want. They have, they have a virus for your computer. So good luck with that. Good luck with that. Yeah. This last article, I want to be very clear. I'm not making fun. I am telling you why you need to have a plan, and you need to figure out that you can detect if something happens. At the end of the day, everybody's going to have a breach. Everybody's going to have a breach. It happens. Whether it's Microsoft or Google or who knows, they've all had a CVE, a 0-day something. So it's going to happen. Now, there are two things that you want to make sure that you have in place when this happens. The first is you want to know what your procedure is, how you move forward, how you communicate to the people who trusted you, how you actually lock down and secure and ensure that nothing more happens. How do you respond? That's the second thing. The first thing that you need is you need to be able to detect it. You need to be able to detect that you've been breached. That is sadly what happened here. The breach isn't news. The breach happened a year and a half ago, almost a year ago. It was like late 2024, November, I believe. I believe it was November 2024. The breach happened, November 2024. The breach was discovered end of November 2025, a year later. So this is a difficult and hard thing to happen, and there's a lot of tools. There's a whole lot of companies out there that can help you with this. And really, this is something that you need to actually leverage a tool to do. You don't want to take this on yourself. This is not me advertising. There's a bunch of tools, security tools out there that will let you do this, but you need to leverage those things because if you're in a cloud, the clouds have things for this, whether it's inspector and defend and guard duty and flow logs, like you can tie all those things together. It might be more difficult to detect anomalous behavior that way, but you could try to leverage an AI on top of those things. But they also, I mean, AWS just released their own CSPM and all of that stuff. So if you're in a cloud, you can use that cloud. But there's also other cloud providers. What I'm trying to say is you need to set yourself up in a way to detect that you've been breached. That's the end of the story. And it's okay. It happens to everybody. I found something interesting happen. I found something interesting happened. I saw this interesting blog post. You know what? We could Wayback Machine this. I didn't Wayback Machine this. Let's do this. One second. Let me do this really quickly for you all. It was yeah. So I found this interesting blog post, and then it got much more interesting. Today, this morning, I found this post is not found. This post is part of this website, which has only one other post pointed or one other post on it. And the other post is not found at all. Very, very interesting, right? If you look at the Wayback Machine, there is just this history of it. Yeah. And these have also there's nothing there, right? Now, I think that this is because it just wasn't captured by the Wayback Machine. Unfortunately, the original wasn't captured by the Wayback Machine. So I actually have no way of showing you what was here because nothing was captured by it. And so I'm going to have to paraphrase what this was about, but it had OpenVictor, which was like a open source version of Victor. So I'm not sure if something in the legal sense is happening here. I'm not sure what's happening. That's all I can say here. That's all. That's it. That's all I know. Do you want this? Now, I something interesting here was like, I don't remember the whole thing. I remember browsing the post yesterday and saying, okay, that looks like it would be cool for review. So I'm going to put it in my list of things to review to see if it would be interesting to report on, right? That's kind of, was it yesterday? Or it might have been the day before. I think it was, anyways, sometime this week, it might have been 2 days ago. Sometime this week, I saw it. I read like the first quarter of it, and I was like, that would be interesting for review. I put it in my to review pile. When I went to review it, it was not found. And I had read enough of it, like it was talking, at least the first portions of it, was talking about re-implementing what they did in Victor in an open source way. And And Victor is just an AI agent. I'm going to say just an AI agent, but that's effectively what it is an AI agent that can hook up to a bunch of tools. But I can't find it. I searched for it. There's this OpenVic, but I couldn't find OpenVictor anywhere. Anyways, there you go. I don't have anything more to say on that. That's just that happened. It was like I don't even know if it was going to make it into the news. I made it into the news and like that was strange. That doesn't happen to me often where I'm like, "Oh, there's a blog post. I'll read more on that and see if it's worth sharing." And then just disappears. It just disappears. My guess is that Victor, you couldn't do Open Victor. You needed to change the name a little bit more. That would be my guess, and that there was like some legal stuff. Again, super guessing. I didn't get to read the whole article. I didn't get to read the whole article, so yeah. Okay. So, another little bit of oddity here. So like I said, I generally try to validate the things that I read. This one, I think I validated, but not in the way that I expected to validate, which is a little bit odd. A little bit odd. Anthropic Marketplace is straightforward in concept. Enterprise customers with committed annual spend on Anthropic's API and services will be able to use a portion of that spend to purchase third-party software applications built on Claude, without Anthropic taking a commission on those transactions. Okay, so it's a marketplace for AI apps, which I thought it might be fun to make an AI app and put it on the marketplace because it would be fun. That being said, I found in the Claude Code docs, discover and install pre-built plugins through marketplaces. Find and install plugins for marketplaces to extend Claude Code with new commands. I'm not sure if this is what they're talking about, like this Claude Code plugin. It seemed like maybe it would be fun to try to make a plugin. I couldn't find this marketplace thing though, and I looked through their news, like their newsroom. Too far. I looked through their newsroom for the marketplace, and I didn't find like news on it. I read about Claude on Mars, and some other announcements here. But yeah, I looked up marketplace. I didn't find anything here, so I'm not sure. Although we might try to do this at some point because it sounds kind of fun. But see, like, this makes it sound like it's not a Claude thing, right? It's not an Anthropic thing. It's like a plugin marketplace, like a Git repository. So are we just talking about this plugin? Like, this is what I don't know, because the article made it sound different than just this. But is it just this? You know, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. We'll probably never know. Talking about AI, reimagining content creation with Gemini in Google Docs, Sheets, Slides, and Drive. I have to tell you, Gemini has been the largest failure I have had with any of the AIs. I don't know why I don't gel with Gemini, but like for some reason, I can never get Gemini to do what I want, even though supposedly it's better at everything. I struggle with Gemini all the time. And I have tried Gemini in Google Docs, and I hate how it formats Google Docs. I hate how it delivers content. I hate how it frames things. And I find that I'm always having to take the things that it wrote and like reframe them completely. I just really, really dislike it. But I hate the UI of it too. Like if you tell it to rephrase this block and then you accept it, it like doesn't even add a return character. It pastes it all right there and doesn't like, I'd love for it to have like amend and replace, because like if I want to replace it, just let me replace it. Otherwise, I have to then accept it, find where it was smashed, the two words are smashed together, and delete the rest. Like I absolutely dislike Gemini in Google Workspaces. Maybe one of the worst experiences. But today we're reimagining how people create content, transforming Gemini Docs, Sheets, Slides, and Drive into a collaborative partner that works alongside you throughout the creative process. What I do is not creative. Be warned. What I do is not creative at all. So I'll let you know. I actually leverage Google Workspaces a lot, like every single day. So I will let you know if this update actually is better. I'll let you know. So I can't tell you if it's better or not. Alongside that, if you're trying to use AI in your workspace, there was this Copilot. Now with Cowork, it is built for that. It helps Copilot take action, not just chat. Now this terrifies me. This terrifies me right here, because as soon as you give an agent access to your email and tools like they want to do with Cowork, I haven't seen a comprehensive security plan that doesn't allow you to exfil data. Now, I would actually love to see some tests done on this, to see if people could exfil data from a Cowork plan. I don't have one of these plans to actually test against, because I would actually love to attempt to exfil data from one of these, because I think that you could just send an email to get it to exfil like the email, like all your other, like summarize their emails and tell me who they're working on deals with. To me, this is very, very scary, but Microsoft has done it, so we know that they thought about security first. That's what Microsoft does. When they look at a product, they say, hey, how can we make this secure? And then they do the opposite of that and release it. That's their mantra. 2 years ago, 3 years ago now, Microsoft really started to take security seriously. And I feel like they lost that in the AI drive. I feel like they actually Satya like set the law down, and they literally started going down that. But I feel like in the rush for AI, they have maybe forgotten about that security first mindset, which is a shame. All right, let's talk about some open source shout outs. And then we're going to talk about the end of Wasm. Wasm's dead, by the way. If you haven't heard it, you've heard it here now. Wasm is dead, and we're going to talk a bit about it. We're also going to talk about good engineering and why I think this article that talks about Wasm being dead is actually brilliant, and a little bit of good engineering out there. So, yeah, actually, we're going to talk about that. But before we do that, let's give us some shout outs to some open source projects that people have brought to my light, some that I saw, and let's give them some shout out. RS Press. If you've worked with Hugo, you might enjoy RS Press. It's not a Hugo replacement, but these are static site generators. If you're wanting to make a beautiful blog, if you're liking the blazing speed of some Rust-based projects, this is pretty good. Now, this project itself is not written in Rust. This project itself is written in TypeScript. It's just masquerading as a Rust project, but it uses some Rust-based projects in the back end. So you're looking at the R stack here, which is just JavaScript. We're talking, they put the Rust crab there to trick us all. It just tricked me, but you know, we got some Rust here. We got some Rust here. We got some Rust here. We don't have Rust here. So some of these are Rust, some of them aren't. It is what it is. But it's a cool tool. I actually played around with this earlier this week, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I don't keep a blog, but I always think that I'm going to keep a blog. Never, ever keep a blog, but it was cool, and I enjoyed it. Not Rust itself, but does have some Rust. Some Rust. It's like Rust adjacent tooling. Cool project. Kudos to them. I like static site generators. Awesome. Our next JavaScript-based project, why they're all JavaScript, is Astro 6 Beta. If you guys don't know Astro, it's something that I've played around with a little bit on stream, but I'm not very good at. But the new Beta 6 is coming out, or Astro 6 Beta is coming out. Yeah, you can go actually download it and try it. It comes out with some new features that you might be interested in. I think the biggest thing that this does is their Cloudflare workers. So like Astro 6 was basically built for Cloudflare workers, like with like local support for it, like built-in support. So that it's supposed to be easier to basically just dev on that type of runtime, which is pretty cool. I've heard a lot of people, I haven't built a project that works on Cloudflare workers. I've actually really been, I've been really loving fly.io. So I haven't had to try out Cloudflare workers. Maybe I should, but Fly is pretty fly. That's all I have to say. There's your 80s. I wasn't born during that time. Thank you. But anyways, the next one is Webpack. They released their 2026 roadmap, and I wanted to point out a couple things in the Webpack. There was two things. Support for CSS modules without the need for plugins. Pretty cool. As well as a universal target to make your code compatible across runtimes. So as there's more JavaScript runtimes that are being released, this is basically trying to make it a, the web, Bun, Dino, whatever runtime that you're wanting, they're trying to make Webpack more accessible to leverage in those different ones, which is pretty cool. So if you're a big Webpack fan, you probably already know. If you're a medium Webpack fan, now you know. And yeah, I remember, what was it, 2016, 2015, when a guy that's much more knowledgeable than me was talking about Webpack and how it just made really hard things easy. And I think that you should learn the really hard things as a learning experience, but it does make some of the really hard things easy, and it's pretty cool. TypeScript 6, exactly what you all want. The only big thing here, I'm not going to go on about TypeScript 6. The big thing that I know is TypeScript 6 is the entry drug to TypeScript 7. And why do we care about TypeScript 7? We care about TypeScript 7 because TypeScript 7 is the Go TypeScript, right? So there are replacing... So TypeScript 6's whole goal is to align with TypeScript 7. TypeScript 7 is the one that's written in Go. That's all I know. That's literally all I know. So if you're on 5.9, you need to upgrade to 6 so that you can get to 7, because TypeScript 7 is the alignment TypeScript that's going to align you for TypeScript 9. TypeScript 9 is the alignment one that's going to be for TypeScript X. TypeScript X is going to be written in Rust. Microsoft has a thing about doing things with 9, so you're skipping 9 and you're just going straight to X. So you're going to TypeScript 10. 10 is going to be on Rust. And so it's really important that if you're on TypeScript 5.9 right now, to get on 6 so that you can get on 7, so that you can eventually get to the most superior TypeScript you've ever leveraged. There you go. That's my open source news. Can't make it any more clear for you all. I need to get better at TypeScript. I have always been bad at TypeScript and JavaScript, and I feel like it never meshed well with me, and so I always avoided doing it, and I think that always hurt me. It's kind of like OCaml. I tried OCaml for a little bit, and I even tried it in private some, and for some reason OCaml didn't mesh well with me. It's hard for me to read. TypeScript is better than JavaScript, but JavaScript very much is that way. I think TypeScript just fails from being a transpiler, right? But it's hard. JavaScript itself is hard for me to read. I can't follow it very well. It will be renamed to Rust script. Wouldn't that be fantastic if it just transpiles into Rust and Wasm in the future? Oh man, full circle. But as many of you guys know now, Wasm is dying. It's on its final leg. And this blog post is pretty much the start of what's going to be weeks-long death of Wasm. I want to dig into it. And I want to dig into just what I think is good engineering. It can be really easy to lose sight of what your bottleneck is, what your problem is, and how your application might not be the same as the majority of applications. And this is what really good engineering can identify and can alleviate. Rewriting our Rust Wasm parser in TypeScript. TypeScript 6, by the way. We built OpenUI-lang parser in Rust and compiled it to Wasm. The logic was sound. Rust is fast, Wasm gives you near native speeds in the browser, and our parser is reasonably complex, multi-stage pipeline. Why wouldn't you want that in Rust? It turns out we were optimizing the wrong thing. When I read this, I was like, I am ready to rip them apart. I'm ready to rip them apart. The thing that they need to start optimizing is something else because they've done something wrong. When you say we're going to optimize and then you get a JavaScript transpiler in there, like that feels very wrong to me. The OpenUI-lang converts a custom DSL emitted by an LLM to a React component tree. It runs on every streaming chunk, so latency matters a lot. The pipeline has 6 stages, blah, 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 blah. The autocloser makes partial midstream text semantically valid by appending minimal closing brackets, quotes. The Lexer single pass character scanner emits typed tokens. The splitter cuts the token stream into ID equals expression statement. The parser recursively descent expression parser built on AST. Resolver inline all variable references, hosting support circular dereference. And then mapper converts the internal AST into public output node format consumed by the React render. Okay, by the way, with all this being said, I think that this would have been a really, really cool test to do with AI. Is you have tests, you have a Rust Wasm parser, you have tests, you have all the code, you have the business logic. Could you get AI to write this whole thing? Right? I think that would have been a really cool test. Just throwing that out there. All right. Every call to the WASM parser pays a mandatory overhead pays a mandatory overhead regardless of how fast the Rust code itself. So WASM parser input, copy string JS heap to WASM linear memory. Rust parses fast. SerDes serialization results. Copy JSON string from the WASM to the JS heap. So allocation, but mem copy and deserialize the result. The Rust parsing itself was never the slow part. The overhead was entirely in the boundary. Copy string in, serialize result to JSON, string copy, copy JSON string out. Then V8 deserialize it back into a JS object. So what I love is their first attempt at this, when they realized what the problem was to skip the JSON round trip. So basically the natural question was, what if WASM returned a JS object directly, skipping the JSON serialization step? We integrated SerDes WASM bindgen, which does exactly this. It converts the Rust struct into a JS value and returns it directly. It was 30% slower. Here's why. JS can't read a Rust struct's bytes from WASM linear memory as a native JS object. The two runtimes are completely different memory layouts. To construct a JS object from Rust data, SerDes WASM bindgen must recursively materialize Rust data into a real JS array and objects. This is really, really, really cool, and something they obviously probably didn't even think about when initially doing it, or even when they did this attempted fix. You started this with an idea of, we'll just skip the JSON round trip and we'll just leverage this. I wouldn't have thought of it. Lots of people wouldn't have thought about it. Compared to the JSON approach, the SerDes2 string runs in pure Rust with 0 boundary crossings, producing one string, one mem copy, copies it to the JS heap. So basically, with the SerDes WASM bindgen versus the just doing it in pure native Rust was actually slower on average. It looks like roughly 20% slower. In the simple case, in more complex cases, it was a lot slower. In the simple cases, it was only 10% slower. So the real fix was eliminating that boundary. It wasn't that Rust was slow. It's not that WASM is slow. It is that if you have something that, if you look at what they're doing here, their whole thing is parsing JavaScript objects. And so if you can do this without crossing that boundary, it's going to be way faster, way fast. Even though the actual work in code is slower on these. So like the JavaScript that's running to do this, because TypeScript is just transpiling into JavaScript. The actual work that's being done here is being done slower, but because they're avoiding that boundary, because they did the work to understand what their bottleneck was, this is a really cool write-up. Kudos. Obviously, I don't think that WASM is dead, right? This is actually a really unique case where that boundary was most of the work, right? If you look at what they're doing here, a lot of this is just dealing with the boundary. This very little bit here that is the actual work being done. It's really, really cool. And like a really cool example of, hey, in this case, WASM doesn't work very well for them. I thought this was cool. So anyways, I feel like this should be fixable though. I feel like this should be fixable. I don't know how. I'm not sure how, though. I'm not that smart. I'm not that smart. Other people are smarter. I know, Stephen Hawkins. I can list at least 5 people smarter than me. You know what is hard? Is hard for me to list? Much more difficult than like just people smarter than me, people that are more humble than me. I am so proud of my humility. It's very difficult for me to find people more humble. That's just a fact. Okay, I'm completely joking, by the way. I need to make a cup of coffee. After I make a cup of coffee, and you guys have played a little bit of Wordle, I wanted to update our Wordle game a little bit. I want to actually program some Rust. I've been away from it a little bit. We've been working with the AI. What we're going to do is we're going to do some of the stuff with the AI while we're typing code in the Wordle game, and we're going to see if we can't do it simultaneously. This might be a disaster. It might be an absolute disaster, but we're going to attempt it. We're going to see how bad I do at it. And yeah. It might be horrible. But I do need to go get a cup of coffee. And I have lost. One second. Okay, we're back. That music's too loud, isn't it? There we go. You know what? I'm going to start right back. I like this. Okay. Let's get you stupid. Are they making TypeScript 8 with Python? Yeah. Of course they're making TypeScript 8 with Python, because Python, as many of you know, do you guys know about? I don't know why, but when I type python.org, like this is the Python programming language. I don't know what it is about. I don't know if this is because of my mental conditions, but for some reason, instinctively I type python.org. And like somebody registers this to literally just troll people that make the same mistake that I do. Which is fantastic. One, I love that somebody else, I know that this person also does the same thing that I do, which is great. And I know that other people do it, which is also awesome, that I'm not the only one with that issue, right? But that being said, I have done it on many occasions, sadly. Another thing that we need to do is we need to update this to our new password management. Yeah, I've been really liking it. I don't know if it's worth making a crate for other people to use. I feel like I would need an actual security professional to review it, right? Before I would let people use it. If you guys know of a security professional who would like to review it, and like recommend ways I could make it better, I would release it. All right. I'm going to do something you all love. I'm going to run some ads while I'm gone, so that we have fewer ads when I get back. Wait, how far away are we from ads? I hate this layout. Oh gosh. Okay, we're close to ads, so this works out. All right. I'll see you all in just a little bit. Feel free to play a little Wordle, or get up and walk around. Is also a good thing that you can do. All right, let's. I want to do one with you guys. That was too easy. Let's do one together. So what I'd like to do today is two things. One, make it where there's a CLI argument where we can pick which list, so we can use the hard list if we want. And the other thing that I want to do is actually implement the leaderboard. I think those two things would be cool. So we actually have a leaderboard. Yeah. What a starting word. I know, it's such a stupid one. Wait. Is it not a word any? Wait a second. We didn't change the word list, did we? We didn't change the word list, did we? Games. This is the Twitch chat portion of it. Let's see, game. What? Did what does FW stand for? W stands for word list. This is the dumbest naming convention. Is FW for full? This is the nerd word list. SW nerd word list. The CH is the hard one, right? When did Oxbow get taken out? This one has 18,000. Yeah. CH is the hard one. How does it not have a W? Who named these? Who named these? Like, I'm gonna use git blame and I'm gonna remove them from the project because like this is garbage. Okay, this is garbage. Challenging. It's the challenging word list. That's the CH. Okay. That's the reason it's CH. God. Right, Russell, you wouldn't understand. When you get to a certain level of engineering prowess like I have, you think about everything, like saving those few bytes. I think it was because, like, not defending myself, but here I'm gonna go defend myself. Originally, this was a project for languages, and so it was the two-letter language code, like that was for each of these, but I completely undid that paradigm, but I kept the two-word naming convention. Can we fix this easily? Like, I hope the two-letter isn't like The the full word list is meant to expand your intellect. All right, so this is where it comes from. We haven't even added, we've added the FW. I'm not sure I love this. I mean, like I said, I leverage somebody else's work, so I can't complain too much. Let's add the challenging word list, but let's do this. Let's do it like this. Now, this should complain, right? Yeah. Because challenge doesn't exist. So we're going to rename this. Rename. And now, this should, okay, yeah. This should fit. And then let's do this. Hey, oh, you know what? I need to fix my titles, right? Okay, so we just covered the news, so what am I up to? It's great to see you, by the way. We do the news on Saturday mornings, and then we hang out and do something. Today, we're updating our game Wordle. So we have a Wordle game where Twitch gets to play Wordle, and we're updating that game a little bit. And besides that, we're also working on figuring out how to leverage AI the best ways that we can and know how. So we're gonna see if we can split task a little. I'm really bad at split tasking, or some people call it multitasking, but I wield English differently. Anyways, so we're gonna leverage that. We're gonna do that, and we're gonna see if we can do it very well. We'll have some fun. We chat. Did you miss any big news? I don't think that there was any major news today, this week. Let's see. You know, my biggest pieces of news was the shout outs to the open source projects that were there. None of these were groundbreaking though, so nothing that I would like. Yeah. We have laid the groundwork for TypeScript 10. We gotta skip TypeScript 9, obviously, because Microsoft. Yeah. All right, so now I think we can also like, so if we go up here then, let's see. By up here, I mean down? I mean in here instead. Okay. Yeah, if we go here, we can change this to nerd, full, and simple. Okay, I think those will make way more sense. I call this the full word list. That's not really true though. What is this? This is more like the standard. This is the nerd word list. We don't really have a simple. It's Atari and Merrick. This isn't really simple. Is this Z? Yeah, this is Z. I didn't cover the Italian government finding Cloudflare. No, I didn't. I didn't see that either. I mean, okay, two things. One, you're always going to appeal, right? Like, you're never going to hand out millions of dollars. When these companies get fined millions of dollars, you're never going to hand out millions of dollars without appealing, right? Just like that's standard operating procedures, right? Privacy Shield, fine. At Cloudflare, our mission to help build a better internet. Usually that means rolling out new services to millions of users or defending the web against the world's largest cyber attacks. But sometimes building a better internet requires us to stand up against laws or regulations that threaten its fundamental architecture. Last week, Cloudflare continued its legal battle against Privacy Shield, a misguided Italian regulatory scheme designed to protect large rights holder interests at an expense of the broader internet. After Cloudflare resisted registering for Privacy Shield and challenged it in court, the Italian communication regulator, AGCOM, fined Cloudflare a staggering £14 million or euros, which is $17 million. We appealed the fine on March 8th, and we continue to challenge the legality of Privacy Shield itself. While the fine is significant, the principles at stake are even larger. This case isn't just about a single penalty, it's about whether a handful of private entities can prioritize their own economic interests over the interests of users by forcing global... I don't know what this Privacy Shield is. I'm not going to comment on Privacy Shield because I don't know what it is. I guess they're going to tell me what it is, though. But this is Cloudflare's take on what it is, again, so I don't know. To understand why we're fighting this, it's necessary to step back and understand Privacy Shield, marketed by AGCOM as an innovative tool to fight copyright infringement. The system is better understood as a blunt tool for right holders to control what is available on the internet without any traditional legal safeguards. Okay, I have seen some of these types. I don't know AGCOM's Privacy Shields specifically, but I feel like, yeah, I do know some of these types of things that I've seen pop up places. Privacy Shield is an unsupervised electronic portal through which an unidentified set of Italian media companies can submit websites and IP addresses that online service providers registered with a Privacy Shield that are then required to block within 30 minutes. So if these things are true, again, I don't know Privacy Shield specifically, but I do know some of those systems. If these are true, I generally tend to be against it. There's no mechanism for a website. So like one of the problems with these is they can be taken, one of the problems with these is you're assuming that these companies are not malicious in any way, right? So we've even seen here in the United States, we've seen large media companies take advantage of Google's what's the name of the system where you can take down a video? DMCA. Have taken advantage of the DMCA. So these large news agencies have taken advantage of the DMCA for somebody that used a 10-second clip of the President of the United States at a speech in a 30-minute video. Okay? So the big problem is if there's no judicial oversight and no transparency and no due process, you're opening it up to being abused. And if you think that these AGCOM aren't going to abuse it, you're absolutely wrong. That's my big take on these. Like I said, I don't know Privacy Shield itself. I'm taking this at face value. So if I'm wrong on this, that's fine. I'm taking this at face value. So in a system like this is a big problem. A big problem. Yeah. Almost immediately after Privacy Shield was rolled out, there were significant problems. In addition to the unworkable 30-minute deadline, 30 minutes is also a really fast thing. And a lack of safeguards described above, the scheme requires service providers to engage in IP address blocking. This is also a problem. I think that this actually comes from a lack of understanding at the official level, the government level. Like the fact that a lot of IPs are shared. So when you block an IP, you're blocking it out of a pool of IP addresses that are shared. This creates an unavoidable risk of over-blocking innocent websites due to the fact that IP addresses are regularly necessarily shared by thousands of... Okay, so maybe I'm not as dumb as I look. I just look a little bit dumb. Maybe, at least I understand the same things that Cloudflare does. IP blocking is a rough one. You can't really do it well without, yeah. Notable failures include government and educational blackouts. Tens of thousands of legitimate sites were rendered inaccessible from Italy, including Ukrainian government websites for schools and scientific research. Small businesses and Ingo disruption, a wide range of European small businesses, loss of essential services. This is true, even if you think that there is no malice use of the system. So like, even if you're saying that all of AdCom is going to leverage it appropriately, and only if there's a true thing, it's still bad, is kind of the point that's being taken here. Even when faced with clear evidence that Privacy Shield has caused significant and repeated overblocking, AdCom did not change course. Rather, it chose to expand Privacy Shield to apply to global DNS providers and VPNs, services which are closely associated with privacy and free expression. AdCom also started taking increasingly aggressive steps to force global service providers, even ones with no legal or operational presence in Italy, to register with Privacy Shield. Cloudflare has been clear about the risks posed by Privacy Shield from the beginning. In 2014, we met with AdCom to highlight the scheme's structural flaws and consequences and proposed more effective ways to collaborate. I feel like I looked at this. I feel like... maybe I didn't. I don't remember that one. I feel like I did, but I didn't remember the first words. Not that I would always remember the first words. Maybe I skipped the first words. I don't remember this one, so maybe I didn't read it. So they challenged AdCom's effort to force Cloudflare to join Privacy Shield in the Italian administrative courts, and along with computer and communications industry authorities CCIA, we filed a complaint with the EU Commission. More informally, we have continued to reach out to government officials both in Italy and at EU level to explain our position and make our concerns known. Our position has been consistent and remains that Privacy Shield is incompatible with EU law, most notably the Digital Service Act, DSA, which requires that any content restrictions be proportionate and subject to strict procedural safeguards. Okay, so this is fair. Like, this is a good EU law, right? Content restrictions must be proportionate and subject to strict procedural safeguards, which it sounds like I said, sounds like doesn't exist in this. Again, I don't know safeguard. The European Commission, following our complaint, expressed similar concerns, issuing a letter Is this all about soccer? Is this all about soccer? I feel like this is about soccer. Is soccer ruining the internet? Is soccer ruining the internet? And you guys like to complain about football, okay? You guys like to complain about football and how us Americans use the wrong word for it, but at least the NFL would probably do this. If the NFL thought it could get away with this, the NFL would 100% do this. It knows that it can't, but if it could, it would. 100%. La Liga. That's the one that I know that I've talked and covered about. La Liga is 100% though. Soccer's ruining the internet. Soccer is ruining the internet. Everybody thought the downfall would be AI. Everybody thought that blockchain. Everybody thought the downfall of the internet would be something. But at the end of the day, the actual downfall of the internet is soccer. La Liga is the one that I remember. That's the one that I remember. The Italian government issued an encouraging ruling requiring AdCom to share with Cloudflare all the records that governments. I understand. But soccer's driving the governments. That's what it is. I didn't realize that the EU was driven by soccer. I'm just joking, by the way. I'm just joking. I don't know that much about EU politics. Define evil. Look, right now we are learning that soccer is ruining the internet for everyone. Welcome to 2026. Welcome to 2026. And on December 23rd, 2025, the Italian Administrative Court issued an encouraging ruling requiring AdCom to share with Cloudflare all the records that purportedly support Privacy Shield blocking orders. While we have not yet received those records, we expect them to shed significant light on Privacy Shield's operations. An excessive fine and still no transparency. Rather than awaiting the outcome of our legal challenges, and less than 1 week after ordered to disclose, I don't know why I said dispose, Privacy Shield records to Cloudflare, AdCom moved on December 29th, 2025 to issue its fine. The fine's timing was not the only eyebrow-raising thing about it. The math behind the penalty is as flawed as the system it's seeking to enforce. Under Italian law, fines for non-compliance are capped at 2% of a company's revenue within the relevant jurisdiction. Based on Cloudflare's Italian earning, that cap should be limited, and any fine should have limited any fine to approximately 140,000. The funny thing is 140,000 would just be like, fine, we'll pay it and move on, and like, screw you. Instead, AdCom calculated the fine based on our global revenue, resulting in a penalty nearly 100 times larger than the legal limit. This disproportionate approach sends a chilling message to global tech community. I mean, to be fair, it sounds like the EU and Italian government should be stepping in. Like, I don't know their laws, but if everything in this is true and it was my government, I would be asking, like, I would be stepping in to assess this. If this is a law, they should be held to the law, right? That's just, you have a law and it's there for a reason. Let's move on. This disproportionate approach sends a chilling message to global tech companies. If you're questioning a flawed regulatory system or defend the rights of your users and the global internet, you risk facing punitive and excessive financial retaliation. At the same time, AdCom has still not shared with Cloudflare the Privacy Shield records that it was ordered to disclose. Instead, just 4 days before the deadline for disclosure, AdCom informed us that it would make some of the records available for inspection at an AdCom facility in Naples. Subject to supervision by AdCom officials, these limitations are not just unreasonable, burdensome, and contrary to the letter and spirit of the disclosure order. They raise real questions about why AdCom is so intent on resisting transparency. A system like this should be transparent, right? I think honestly, the DMCA is super flawed, but one of the things that is at least semi-good about it is that there is at least limited transparency. Not saying that you can't like create a fake email and stuff like that, but there's at least attempts at transparency in how the system works, who files the orders, and those types of things with that. So I think transparency in these types of systems is really important. Also, I think when you do something like Privacy Shield, it's important that it's not backed by corporations, right? It's not driven by corporations. Like, it has to be a loss leader, right? Or else it's just misuse is going to be easy. Italy's and Spain's government are probably driven by football. That's fair. That's fair. Oh. Remember when Facebook turned off news in Australia? Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, I missed this in the news, everyone. So I didn't have any time to prepare for like what Privacy Shield is. I would have happily covered Privacy Shield a little bit better. Like I said, I'm taking all of these points at face value. Maybe there is judicial oversight, and maybe there is transparency in Privacy Shield. I don't know. I'm, again, assuming that the things that they say are correct. Piracy Shield. Oh, wait. Did I read that wrong the entire time? Is it Piracy Shield? It is. I read it wrong the entire time. Fantastic. Excellent. That's how much I had read up on it. I didn't read it beforehand. Like I said, that was just given to me. We're going to rename this to... Awesome. I think we're just going to delete this, right? We're just going to delete this. I don't know what we were doing here. We're just going to delete this one. Do we have Atari in here? That's what we'll need. Okay, Atari is not in the nerd word list, so we'll add it here. Okay. Use JJ. I don't know what JJ is. Like, is that how you just go down 2 lines? JJ? I use that too. Oh. So I've heard people upset with Git. Do you know what I don't like? Let me see if this one solves it. Oh, okay. So basically, it's just like a front end for Git. That's fine. Tell you what. I'm blanking on its name right now. One of the things that all version controls currently don't do well. In my opinion, one of the things that they don't do well, and I know that you're going to be like, oh, Unix principle here, and I get Unix principle, right? I'm not arguing Unix principle. And maybe this should always exist outside of your source control. I don't know. Part of me thinks that it should be. Is work tracking. So at the end of the day, work tracking, planning, and why you make changes to your code usually exist and live outside of your version control. But the thing is, that actually defines what you do inside of your version control, right? So what I mean is why did I make this change? Now, in a commit, you state what the change is. But there's another level to that. as to why did you make that change. And that data is super important. Now, you could also write why you made that change in the commit, but that would make the commit very long, because and sometimes why you made the change is this bigger, broader thing. You could say epic if you're talking about Jira or whatnot, but like, I don't care what you call it. It could be this bigger, broader thing that you're making a bunch of little change pointing towards. And I actually think version control should keep this, because it's part of the version. It's a part of why you're going to what you're going to. And then that's the other piece of metadata, is the version of the software. So we could talk about branches, and in Git, we manage this with a bunch of different like Git flow and things like that. But in actuality, version should be a first-class citizen, right? So I love semantic versioning and things like that, and that should be a first-class citizen of your version control. Because, again, it's kind of this metadata of why you changed your code, what for, and what end goal you're shooting for. When this all exists in other systems outside, it's very hard for you to get that semantic understanding. Don't get me wrong, define evil. There's a lot of ways you can do it, right? Like I said, you do branching and stuff like that, and we have Git tags and things like that. But none of these are actually really built in. It's just us layering them on, leveraging stuff like that. And then at the end of the day, you still have to leverage something like Jira, right? Why? As much as I love linear, why do I need linear? I need linear because my version control system doesn't support really understanding why I made a change to the code. Not what change I made, but why I made it. And commit messages are bad at it. Like that I have tried putting that data. You like balloon that commit message, and then for things like epic level stuff, you're either copying or pasting, or adding that somewhere else, like an MD file that says like, this is the big high level thing that I'm shooting towards, and referencing that in your commit. It's bad. It's just bad. It doesn't do it well. In my opinion. Which is a good opinion, so I've been told. I think it's a fantastic opinion. And I'm not trying to hate on any project or anything like that. Don't take me wrong. It's probably great. Like, honestly, I'm not trying to hate on any one project or anything like that, right? That's not my goal. My goal is I was just telling you what I would love to see in what I would like to see in it, really. So that's just been a feeling that I've had. I like, especially as I've gotten into more managing different teams and whatnot, and trying to make sure that we're all working towards the same goal. It's a much harder problem then, right? You have multiple teams that are trying to do multiple things to go towards one goal, right? How do you track that? I think it would be really cool if I could do it in my version control. If I could do it in the thing that, you know, manages my code, right? And, you know, somewhat, maybe it's terrible. It could be. I don't really know. I haven't tried it. I actually think that this will... So, this is a conversation I've had multiple times with multiple different people. But let's say we absolutely... And this isn't going to happen for a very, very, very long time, if at all. But let's say we get code generation to be absolutely zero. It's all done automatically by AI. We've only moved the bottleneck. We've only changed where we have to focus on, right? And so like, like I said, you haven't changed where the responsibility lies. I don't think that you get even 2x. If you make code generation 0, you don't get your engineers aren't double the speed, right? That's not how it's going to work. I hate to break it to people. I hate to break it to people, but it's just not how it works. What are you building? How are you building it? How are you contributing to that big picture? What should we be building? These are really big questions that have to be answered, and you have to all align on those things. You can't be building different things. So AI is actually going, if you assume that it takes it to 0, AI is going to make all of those things worse, not better. Okay, so a really interesting one is in civil engineering. In civil engineering, they found if they made, to a certain extent, and so this is an engineering. We're an engineering field, and we should learn from other people's engineering things. One of the things that they found in civil engineering is that if you have a road that's 2 lanes like this, all right, and we'll say that this is the middle line. Let's do yellow or orange, whatever. All right, if this is our road and we expand this section of road to be 4 lanes, yeah. All we do is move the bottleneck somewhere else. Unless if you expand the system as a whole, and you have to understand the whole system, all you've done is move the bottlenecks. In the idea of code gen is what? Maybe 20% of your time? If you're lucky. If you're lucky, maybe it's 30%. It's requirements gathering, testing, understanding the system, understanding the impact, ensuring that it's aligned. It's all of these other things that aren't super affected by this. And so if you remove this to 0, you've just crammed a bunch of work up to other bottlenecks. And those bottlenecks are going to feel worse. It's going to feel like everything's gotten worse. And yeah, define evil. If you're leveraging it to help alleviate some of those bottlenecks, that's fantastic. But you have to understand that, and you got to work towards that. Because I guess my word of caution is, if you're a leader and you think, hey, I gave them cursor, they should be 2 times more effective. The answer is no, they're not, or they cannot be. This should fail, right? Yeah. Okay. Cool. What is where? Oh, this? Okay, so for people that don't know, this is a Rust macro. This is a Rust macro. So just be cognizant of that. That's all you need to know. This is probably one of the worst aspects of Rust, is its Rust macros are incredibly powerful. I think this is one of the things that Zig got really right. If I could steal something from Zig, and I don't know the consequences. I don't know how that would change Rust macros. So like, I say this without the true understanding required to make like an actual decision on this, but like, in my mind, if I could make one change and I could pull in Zig's macros, which is just Zig, I would do that. Because it's almost like, I don't know if any C++ aficionados are here, but like, if you've written a C++ template and you've actually gotten into the templating language, it's super powerful, but it's almost its own language, right? And so that's the same here. I know how to read it at a very high level, but there's a lot of rules and a lot of things that I don't fully understand of Rust macros. I'm getting better at it. I need to just dig into it and just eat it for breakfast. But I do like Zig's way of dealing with it. It's fantastic. This is naive. I like naive. Sometimes we are too... Sometimes naive is good. You gotta understand that a naive take means that you don't have the whole picture. But sometimes there's like a purity in naive that like you can see something you never would have because you would have been skeptical. This function returns an A. If you're like me, that's actually a type. I actually made a type A. It's not a type T. Okay, so this is a type T. So this is a function that's a type T. It takes an A that is a type T and it returns a type T, right? I don't know. That's not super mystery, but all right. The type system is there is nothing else you can do with the above value of an unknown type except give it back. That's not entirely true, right? This property that a type signature in determining implementation is called. I know how to pronounce this. We'll move on, and I'll come back and pronounce it. Actually, I'll just wait till you all forget that I promised that I'd come back and pronounce it, and. Yeah, that's my plan. And is one of the most unappreciated ideas of programming language design. It's also exactly what Zig comp time gives up. A recent post made by made the case that comp time is bonkers good, and I don't want to argue against that. Comp time is genuinely powerful, but power has a shape. And understanding, man, if he's just gonna keep using it, I'm just gonna say para. I can pronounce this word. Is what we lose without it. Makes for such a richer picture of what Zig is doing and why it's an interesting design choice. Let's consider a Zig equivalent to the Rust function signature above. The comp time keyword makes t as a compile time parameter, meaning the function body can inspect it, branch on it, and behave completely different depending on which type it receives. Consider this Zig function signature. Function mystery, comp time t type a t t. Can you tell what this does from the signature above? Here is the out. It looks like it just prints it. If this result surprised you, welcome to comp time. Function okay, so this is just comp time. Yeah. Okay, I understand. Nothing in the signature tells you this, and nothing can, because comp time puts no constraints on what the body is allowed to do. Paramore electricity. Thank you. Parametricity. I can't say it online anymore. Okay. So what is parametricity? Dang it. I can't do it. I can't. It is the property of functions with generic types, also known as type parameters. It says that the inside of the body of a function, we cannot know anything about a type parameter beyond what is passed as a function argument. In the Rust function, we don't know the size of t, we can't call any methods on it, we can't compare it to anything, and we can't, we can constrain it, right? Which is something he's not doing here. If a function needs to do something with a generic value, whatever it does, it must itself be passed an argument. Take this example. A function a to b returns a b. We have a value of type A, need to produce a value of type B, and the only source of B values available is F, so again, this is exactly one implementation. Is a form of modularity. Modularity is usually described as a property between components. One module hides its implementation from another, exposing only an interface. Or trait. Parametricity works the same way, but within a single function. At the definition site, the function body is isolated from any knowledge of what any concrete t will be. It can only work with the interface it is presented, which is exactly the parameters to the function. At the call site, the caller knows exactly what they're passing, but cannot see past the function signature to the implementation. Parametricity is the dual of abstraction. Abstraction hides unnecessary details from the caller. We use a function without needing to know how it works. Parametricity hides unnecessary details from the implementer. We write okay, this is all like really basic. One consequence is that parametric functions have uniform behavior. If the body can't branch on the type, it can't behave differently per type. We have... Okay. Correct. And this is where... you know, in Rust, they're right. Now you could make a trait that says like get type, and then you could branch on that. So like I would contend that this, yeah, I see why people say this is a little naive. But I like where it's going. I like the idea because it makes you think about this. This is where I like the naive types, because while I would argue that like this isn't exactly true, it does make you think about it and why you're doing the things. I think which studies are we talking about here? I want to create an AI that clicks the I'm human button. finds that developers spend about half their time simply reading and comprehending code, not writing it or debugging it, but just understand what existing code does. That's a striking figure, and anybody that... Dude, if you watch me code, I'm here like, what did I do last week? What did I do? I have slept 7 times since writing this code. I have no idea what... I have no idea what this code does. When a function is parameter, its type signature is not just a hint about implementation, but a language enforced constraint on what the function can possibly do. You don't need to read the body, check the test, or trust the name is accurate to understand the properties of code that the types are a proof, unless it's in JavaScript. I think naive is a way of saying something is superficial, right? It's a different look at how you would state that. So, superficial can appear to be naive, right? You're right that you couldn't make the argument of whether the writer was naive or not. But if you make something superficial, you make the naive statement, right? At least that's my understanding of the word. Maybe, one second. Showing lack of experience with right, okay. I think it's a fair point that let me look at this. Let me look at this. See, I think if you look at the second definition, of or denoting art produced in a straightforward style that deliberately rejects sophisticated artistic techniques, I think naive is leveraged to say it was simple on those things. So I think it's a fair statement. I don't think it's like a bad statement. I think you're also right that we can't say that the person that wrote this is naive, because this is actually one great thing about YouTube videos. Something I've learned for a long time is you don't know where the person started that is reading your thing, right? And so you don't know who you're writing to when you put something on the internet. You don't know who you're making the YouTube video for when you put it on the internet, right? And the fact of the matter is you're making it for everyone. And in actuality, then you're making it for no one. And so then you have to define who you're making it for, and you just go with that. And so that can, if your thing is trying to help somebody understand maybe difficult subject, you take the naive approach, which is fine. It's not calling you naive, and it's the naive approach. It's the simple approach to define a problem in such a way to get people to start thinking on it. I think that's completely fine. Yeah, I don't think anybody was saying that the person who wrote it was a naive person. If you say it's a naive post, I think you're just saying it's a simple post. That's at least my understanding. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is more indicative of people talking about the poster, which I think would be, honestly, to make something simple usually means you understand it much better. I find if I don't understand something very well, I get really complicated really quickly. It's very hard to simplify it at a high level. And it's truly the people. There are two camps. There are some people that make it simple just because like that's all their mind can comprehend on it. But it takes a truly sophisticated and well-defined understanding of the problem to then simplify it very well, right? There's that middle ground that I find myself in where it's like, I understand it, but not well enough to make it simple. Yeah, I mean, I can't tell what other people are referring to, But yeah, a post isn't an experience. It's a post, and you have to make a post for an audience, and you have to decide what that audience is going to be. And if this audience was for people just new to the idea, like I skipped over some of this because like this is a lot of beginner stuff, and like, okay, yeah, that like I don't need to go over those basics, and it's like, okay, that's fine. But obviously this was going for somebody that like literally when they're talking about this stuff, they're going for somebody that hasn't had to, like, they're not just jumping into what comp time is because comp time is cool, but they're not just doing that because they're actually defining the problem from the ground up, which, and they're keeping it simple, which is fine. The failure mode, when this break, but you know, it also comes across as like there's nuance to all this, and so the more experienced people are going to be like, well, there's nuance, and that's also fine. It doesn't make it a bad post. The failure mode when this breaks is in JavaScript arrayed to sorted, called without a compactor, converts everything to strings before sorting. It's consistent but not uniform. It requires special case knowledge to predict. Did I miss something? Oh, okay, no. The integer 1 lands between Bill and Zannery because 1 sorts their lexicographically. Nothing in the function signature suggests this behavior. That's the comprehension tag that, yeah, okay. Choices at compile time. Consider a set of, I love the more that we can put to compile time, I think is fantastic. I absolutely love the brilliant people that work at making stuff compile time. Consider a set of data structures. A set of unsigned integers can be completely represented as a bit set, while other types need a different representation. Perhaps a hash table or a balanced tree, a pragmatic function, does not have the information to make this choice. While comp time punctures this modularity barrier, allowing compile time dispatch on type. Parametric language address this by allowing functions to take additional parameters that add information known at compile time. This is essential to Haskell's types, Rust's trait, and Scala's implicits. In such a language, we can define different representations associated with types, a bit set representation for unsigned integers, and some other representation for other sides. Okay, yeah. This solves the problem of allowing different behavior per, okay, right. Like I said, this guy obviously knows what he's talking about while maintaining parameter C. This additional information is still conceptually a function parameter and present in the function signature. In Rust, our set example might have something like this, set representation, etc. While the set representation trait holds the information needed to construct the data structure, the trait appears in the signature, so parameter C is preserved. Callers can still reason with the type alone. Comp time gives genuine power. The ability to specialize behavior on types at compile time is useful in Zig's staging story. Running arbitrary code at compile time is an unprecedented idea that most languages handle poorly. I don't want to miss it. However, for a specific problem like generic programming, the trade-off doesn't hold up. The alternative types, classes as in Haskell or traits as in Rust, gives ad hoc polymorphism, functions that can behave differently depending on the type, while preserving parameter C. We get a sophistication here where we ask for it, and reasoning guarantees everywhere else. It's extendable too. Anyone can add a new type to an existing type class. Zig comp time dispatch is not. The deeper issue is that the comp time conflates two things. Now, I don't know enough about comp time, so like I'm not gonna really, I need to learn Zig. I get it. I want to do stuff with it, but I haven't learned it yet. There are different problems with just the best solutions. Staging really does benefit from comp time style power. Generic perf timing really does benefit from parameter C. Using one mechanism for both means accepting a worse answer to one of them. This is generally something that we don't like to talk about, I think. So yeah, we can have the traits with a get type method, but then it'd be represented in the trait bond to the generic, which takes, yeah. Agreed. So one of the things that I don't think that we like to talk about is trade-offs. So, you know, I like to joke here, like Rust is the best language and things like that. And when the actuality is generally there are always trade-offs with everything that you pick, right? You can pick Python and you can make it today. You can pick Rust. I don't know why I beeped out Rust. That was inappropriate. That's bad merit. I'm so sorry. I have failed you all. Dishonor on me. You can write it in Rust and have it in 3 months, but it will be blazing fast. So there's trade-offs in everything that you do. And we don't like to talk about that a lot of times because we like to think that we pick the best thing or the best tool for the job and the thing like that. But that's what we have to look at it, is like a lot of times we just have tools for jobs and we've got to try to do engineering best practices to pick the best tool for the job. This is actually what I talked about at the very end when we talked about this. We've talked a lot about Wasm and Rust, and you guys know that I like Rust and Wasm, and we talked about how through the feat of actually good engineering practices, they understood that the Wasm linear memory barrier was actually their bottleneck to their application, and the actual fixing of this little small chunk. And you know, if you're looking at it, they have this parser as a small chunk of that pipeline. It doesn't mean they had to rewrite everything, just this small chunk. But it actually plays exactly into this, is knowing what your problem is, what it is, and engineering for that. We're not just picking Rust because Rust is the best at everything. We're picking Rust because we understand what our problem is, and Rust is uniquely designed to fix it. I have to embrace Nig now. I've been abandoned by the Rust Federation. No, you don't understand that. The Rust Federation required me to beep it out because like I didn't get special permission ahead of time to use the word Rust. And so like I have to beep it out, right? Or else my stream's gonna be DMCA'd. I will try to come up with an RS beep, okay? That is a new thing on my soundboard, is going to be an RS beep. That's fantastic. Define evil. I'm all about learning. I try to learn. Now, obviously, it's actually hard to learn something on stream. You have about 20 teachers. Well, if I was if I was popular, I'd have 20 teachers. I have like eight people right now that know better than I do, and so it can be somewhat difficult to actively learn on stream. But I do enjoy learning. I like promoting learning and understanding. I hope that I have the humility to also admit when I'm wrong, because one of the biggest threats to anybody's learning, in my opinion, is when they fail to admit or realize that they're wrong and that they can't learn from somebody. Actually, one of the people that I work with that I appreciate the best is his ability to come adamantly, he'll come to a meeting, adamantly defend his position, his view, because he thinks he's right. And a lot of times he is. He's very smart, very intelligent. But there have been times when something has been said by anybody, it doesn't matter. Literally a junior engineer, and we're talking like junior engineer versus principal engineer here. And he's had the humility to be like, no, that's actually a fantastic idea. We should do what the junior engineer's idea was. I didn't think about that. Just an amazing person to work with because of that. Doesn't mean he doesn't have confidence. He has confidence, which is different than arrogance. But anyways, you got to keep your humility if you want to keep learning, because you'll learn stuff from other people. Okay, so this is what I don't like. Why does this uses the spell checker lever? Oh, this is because of a bug, right? Our spell checker just uses the straight word list, doesn't it? Because Wordle word doesn't have any generation, right? So like there's no way to, like, these are all get new words, right? I'm wondering if maybe we should add a is word. Is that easy to do? I don't even, I don't know. Is word. This is gonna actually probably have to, right? We should be able to do the same thing we did here, right? So we have the words here, right? And we should be able to just do like a word. I don't know. Do we just do a bool here? Right? It's like just, it's true or false. We don't want to like, we're just checking. If it is a word. Oh, I think we need to see if I'm using the newest version of Zed, and I want to see if the newest version of Zed actually will work with my local LLM without the compiled version of Zed. If you guys remember, we actually updated Zed itself, which was fun and all, but less fun than actual fun. So this returns an option, so we can just basically do this, right? Oh, wait. We are just doing a get, right? This returns all words, right? Get does. And that gives us a static stir. I forget how we even use this, right? One second. Not here. We're talking about in the game loop. We use the spell checker, but that's just, the spell checker is just a hash set of string, but I feel like we shouldn't need this. Because we already have it in memory. I think we're double loading this in memory, which is kind of bad. Oh, we are just, we didn't build any of this into, I see. We didn't build any of this into the actual thing. Okay. Okay. So what we really need to do, I feel like all of this should be in the Wordle word, right? Like get random word should be a Wordle word thing. And I realize that this actually makes it a Wordle word, like this is our construct, which is fine. Because we get a static string back and then we just do that as bytes, right? And do the try into. So we're just gonna make, we're not gonna return this. Like we'll try to keep this other library a little bit yeah, let's no, oh no, stop it. Okay, that was sorry, more painful than it should have been. Let's see, are we doing inline? We should do inline, right? That should be inline always. All right, now this is where we can just update this a little bit. We don't need this, right? And we're just going to change this to get, we could over-engineer this and make it work for everything, but I think we'll just keep it simple. Get random word, and it takes word length, int, this is a I30. We don't need an I32, but we're going to just say an I32. And this returns a this is actually a static stir, right? That it's returning. All right, and then in here, actually, should we return an option? We should probably return. No, it's going to work, right? There's no, 1 second. Oh, I didn't even fix all of this. We're gonna bring this up to here. All right, this is, right, this random word is actually in this crate, right? In the lib. We don't need this, right? So basically, yeah, we don't need this. This was a way to, yeah, okay. Why did I do it this way? I have no idea. That seems really weird to me. It feels like a lot of extra code that didn't need to happen. Now, the only problem here is that the lib here, okay, I'm doing this in the wrong place. I'm doing this in the wrong place, right? I need to put this in here. Yeah, okay. Now, do I need to actually do this at all? Because I feel like we're actually doing that here, right? It returns a random word with a given language. And so I'm just like, I don't know why I did what I did in the other one, right? I have no idea. Okay, so we're just deleting all of that because that, One second. I gotta go back there. I don't understand. Why is this written this way? This is always going to give us a word from the word list. Okay, I'm gonna do something that I should have done a long time ago. That made me feel really stupid. Okay. I feel better about it, though. I feel better about it. I feel like I wish I hadn't done that on stream. Am I... Okay. Anyways, okay, yeah, I can't believe I had written all of that to do what was already here. Okay. So what we want to do here is just check if the word exists in the words. Seems reasonable. Let's see where we're doing that, what logic we use up here. I feel like this is way better now, right? We're gonna get a... This returns, we're gonna make it uppercase, try into, and expect if we fail to convert it into the struct. Okay, yeah, that's beautiful. Okay, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. The other thing that I wanted to then do here, it was in this game loop, right? So in here, where did we use the spell checker, right? Spell checker, we use it to get the random word, which now is exactly what we want, but we also use it for when everybody... So the other time that we leverage this is when somebody inputs a word, right? They input a word and it is to... What am I thinking of? To validate if it's a valid guess, right? So there should be some validation. Validate guess. Oh, got it. Validate guess here. So we have this spell checker dot contains and contains. Okay, yeah, we're just doing it contains on the hash map. Okay, so this is the interesting problem. This is super straightforward. That won't be so true. I think I realized why I left it as it was. That won't be so true. Okay, but this is easy, right? This is easy. I know why this is easy, right? Because if we look back at, if we look back here, right? So we don't have a hash map dictating this, right? But that's okay because we can get an individual word relatively easily. This one right here returns a random word within the given language. That's not useful. We don't have a way, do we? Because here we just have a box of an array of static strings. So there's no way... It's sorted, so we could just search, but I hate to do that. Do we change how we store it here? Is that the solution? Because this is just... Wait. What are we keeping? This is all built around getting a random word, right? Which means if we really want to update this, we got to update this. Right? Which I'm not sure I'm good enough to do. So this is the compressed. This is the length. Starts with. So can we do this? Can we do that? We can try. I'm not sure that without some reading I can do this. This is beyond my this is beyond my skill, right? I also don't think that this is efficient, right? Because this is every single time. We should just load it in memory once, right? The word list isn't big enough to leave on file. It's a small word list, so it's not like we should leave it on disk. Because, okay, we could do this where we iterate over each one. And we could basically just say, let mute found equals, false. We could do something like this. And then, if, we could just check it. But that doesn't, I don't want to loop over this for everybody's guess. I think, okay, we're not going to do this for right now. Because that's a bigger change. I think. I need to look into these the macros a little bit more because I almost feel like we need to generate it into some in-memory construct. Okay, so as is, we don't need, I put something dumb in here. Where is it? Oh, this right here. So what we need to do, we're gonna leave it where we serialize whatever it is into the spell checker for right now. Because the goal wasn't to completely redo how this Wordle word thing works. But I think I want to move all of this into the Wordle word thing where it brings it in, serializes it, and it can do the contains and stuff. This way we don't have to build a hash map ourselves. I think that's the right thing to do. How this library was built is it's just to, the whole purpose of it was to get a random word out of a list. And it does that really well. But we needed more than that. So that's fair. That's fair. It needs some extension. Okay. So the other thing that we want to do is we want to be able to switch these, which means we can't have these static file links, right? So when we go to create a game right now, what was it? Get spell checker. So when we do this, we have this static path, which is not acceptable. We've got to build this because we got to be able to switch to different word lists. But there's two things here. One, we need this, but we also need when we get our random word, we also need to know which list to get it from, right? So in this, we have the where we get the next word, right? This get random word. And in here, we've got to pass which language to do it in, right? Oh, wait. I almost made this correct. There we go. Why is this failing? The trait bound. Oh, I think I think I need to compile the Wordle word. That's why this is failing here. I think that's all. And I think this should then fix with that. Although this looks like it's correct, right? I got rid of the as bytes. I actually messed something up here. Okay, that's fine. I accidentally messed something up there. There we go. I fixed it. Okay, right, and now we don't need the spell checker here, but what we do need to pass here is which list. And then here we're just going to have we're just going to pass list here. That is the word list we want, right? So now when we call get random word, we have to pass the list in. That's good. And really, we need to change this from language to list. I need to, what's go to next error? I always forget that on this one. That's the thing I need to do. It is this, right? Nope. Z go to next diagnostic. I always forget how to jump to next error. F8 is not easy. Oh, okay, yeah. It's G square bracket? G, let's see if the error, let's see. Oh, you know what? This is why it's not easy for me. Yeah, this is, I had to have changed it because I can't hit that combo very well with how my keyboard is set up. Let's see. Key map. Diagnostic. Diagnostic. Go to diagnostic. Which one is Vim? Vim. So just space D? Space D? Is that really all we have to do? Okay, okay. That is not true. I was lied to. I was lied to. Let's see. Wait. Okay. I forgot that you have to be careful with Vim of what context you're in, right? This is difficult for me to hit. Vim mode equal normal. This is difficult for me to hit, right? Dutch, welcome. Welcome to this place. You've been melting? Dude, okay. The weather has been so strange the last couple of years. So we got up into the 70s, and then it was like, nah, let's have 3 days of below freezing. And then it's like, how about you have 86 degrees? And then it's like, okay, just joking. How about we go below freezing again? I just need it to make up its mind, really. That's all I'm asking for. I could use some decisive decision making. Okay, yeah, let's see. These are difficult for me to hit. And the reason is I have a small keyboard, and these, I have to use modifier keys to hit the brackets to make me go up a keyboard. But that keyboard that that layer doesn't have D, right? So it makes this very difficult for me to, and by difficult, I mean like I cannot make this combination. So we need to come up with a different combination. All right. What is the space? Next error? I want to see if that works. And why, you ask, is because that's just how I've done it in the past. So let's go over here and do space next error. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. I'm going with that one. That's how I'm doing it. Do you guys hear my pups? They hear mom coming home. And they howl. It's like, I don't know if you guys have seen Zootopia, but like, when one of them starts a howl, you know, I grew up with Australian Shepherds and German Shepherds, or Australian Shepherds and Collies, and I never had German Shepherds, and so I don't know. In my adult life, I've had German Shepherds, and all my German Shepherds, they're not barking dogs, but if they get into, oh, next error did not take me up. Oh wait, is there not an error up here? Okay, maybe there's not an error up here. I thought there was. Maybe, like, they are not talkative. They don't bark a whole lot, but when they start a howl, it's all over. And until you make it in those doors, you can hear the dogs howling. You like pull into the garage. Obsidian released a CLI? I did not realize that. It's your time to shine is such a weird saying for a note-taking app. I like Obsidian. I use Obsidian. That's such a weird... Okay, I can't get over that. I can't unsee that. It's your time to shine. You're doing notes wrong. Okay, so instead of list or lang, this should be, right? We don't want lang, we want list. Yeah. Mismatched types. Oh, yeah. Okay, so cool. Now we have to pass in the spell checker as well as the lang. But the other thing that we have to do is we have to pass in the lang we want when we build the spell checker. That's the big deal here. So, really here in the game loop, we should have spell checker, lang. Actually, this is like a list. List is such a word list. Okay, I immediately want to change this from list to word list. Dang it. Word list. Actually, I want to... Okay, what I'm going to do is use a little word list. Now, I should just be able to do boom. Yeah. Feel my Vim power. I feel powerful when I remember how to actually use the tools that I'm using. It's not often. It's not often. But I get it every once in a while. 106. Oh, I don't do 106. Now, that being said, Phoenix is a much drier heat, which makes a big difference because we have humidity. And so 106 is, yeah, more. Is worse. 106 is worse, not more. It just, the humidity, like when you have humidity, you walk out and you just start sweating, which is not fun. Let's see, what mismatch types? Wait a second. Oh, I don't need the spell checker at all for this part. Okay. Cool. Wait. Expected enum lang. No, I just changed you. Thank you very much. You're expecting word list. They'll get over it. They'll get over it, yeah. I think I was born for the island state. I do. Like, I think dark, gloomy weather. I was made for. I feel empowered when there's a thunderstorm. Now, my one dog does not feel empowered. She feels the inverse of empowered. But okay, so here we've got to pass in the lang, which should be passed in to this. Where do we get... Oh. Ooh. Do we pass it in here? Yeah, I guess we do, because like, yeah, this is just the unbounded Twitch receiver. So nope. Word list. Okay, you know what I dislike about Seattle? One, I do think that I could be happy in Seattle. But there's a couple things that I dislike about it. And one of those is that it doesn't storm that much. I actually like a good thick storm with heavy rain in it. Seattle kind of mists in your face, and it's just not the same as getting like a good violent storm. And Starbucks. Like, who wants Starbucks? Who wants... You know, I'm going to say this. Starbucks in Seattle is way better than Starbucks in the rest of the country. Full stop. Starbucks in Seattle is decent. I'm not going to say the best or like good, but Starbucks in Seattle is decent. It's like the one place I'm willing to spend money. Like, I don't, but I would be willing to spend money on Starbucks in Seattle. At least I haven't been to Seattle for like 5 years now. I used to go quite a bit. Yeah. Okay, I think I need to go build Wordle Word. Because when you actually build this, it actually builds. So what you'll notice here is it actually builds these BRs here. It looks like it actually built them though. Huh. No lang in the root. Use crate lang. Oops. I've messed something up. Wait, how did I mess this up? Okay. Oh, because it's word list. Thank you. What I've been doing. We'll just leave that for that right now. Okay, but so the problem with Mississippi, Alabama, or Louisiana, they have storms, but I also don't like tornadoes. So that's a negative. Also, did we talk about the sweltering heat again? You know, I feel like I really bond when you see those England TikTokers talking about the cold, and they're talking about like it got down to 5 degrees Celsius, and you know, the rest of us don't know cold. And then what I love is then they talk about heat, and they're like, this just tickles me, just absolutely tickles me. They're like, you don't know heat. They're like, it gets 30 degrees in Celsius again. 30. Oh my goodness. I was born for that. That is like prime operating temperature. 20 to 30 degrees Celsius, amazing. I can withstand that entire band. Now, we unfortunately get up to like 35. On a few rare days, like 40. And it's brutal to me. Absolutely brutal to me. There's no way I go down to Mississippi, Alabama, or Louisiana. There's a reason it's called the armpit of the United States, because it is hot and sweaty. Like worse than here. I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm not strong enough. Okay, cool. We fixed that. You can't have storms with it. I'm telling you, England. I'm telling you, England has storms and not heat. It's a rare place in the world. They get a little upset about tea parties. I know that we in the US like to have tea parties. And they are very touchy about tea parties. But other than that, fantastic. Okay, let's see. What did I fix here? I think that we were passing in. This is what we need to do. We need to pick the language here, right? I'm gonna do something really, really, really dumb. Wordless. You guys are gonna cringe, but until we fix this and put it in the Wordle word crate, it's gonna be here. I think. Word list. Word list. And then we're just going to do this. Talk about it's a good chat. What am I doing here? Actually, we don't need this, right? This was silly and overcomplicated. What we need to do is just do this. Right? Word list challenge. Fat arrow because, and then we're going to take this and slap it here. Right, we can do this. Not that. We'll do this, and then we'll do challenge. And then we can just do this 2 more times. I know that this is bad, but sometimes bad is good. Okay, yeah, like this. Done. It's not perfect. Like I said, this should be built into the word list, but until we get this built in, like this hash map in memory, built into that, which is gonna take some. It's not as simple as it looks. It's not as simple as it looks, and because of that, we're going to leave it like this for now, I think. Okay. Let's build this. Three errors. Okay, that's fine. We're getting it. Random word list. Okay, yeah, there's no list. That's easy fix. Easy peasy. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. This function takes 2 arguments, but 1 was supplied. That seems like a problem. Oh yeah, start game. Okay, yeah. Because we didn't do this. We just updated the function, but now we gotta pass in which word list, which we need a command line argument for that. Okay, and this is taking place in main. Let's fix what's in game first. Yeah. Word list. Done. Because we passed the word list in here, now we gotta go fix that in main. Wait, Scott, is it really? I'm at 65 right now. 66. It refreshed as I was looking at it. I hate it when that does that to me, and then my kids are like, "Oh, Dad, but it's actually 66. Were you teasing us?" And I was like, "No, I literally, while I was reading it, was 65, and then it turned immediately." Okay, to start the game, we gotta give it this a word list. So here we gotta go to our sub command, our Wordle sub command. And in our Wordle sub command, we have this Wordle struct, and this Wordle struct needs why do we have a word? But like, we're not actually using this. Okay, let's get rid of this. And we're just gonna make this word list, right? Can we make this? I forget how to make this an enum, right? You can make it an enum, right? We're just gonna make it an enum. Word list. Boom. Yeah, this does not like that. Word list, but its trait bounds were not satisfied. The following trait bounds were not satisfied. Right. We gotta tell it enum value, right? How do we do that? I forget. Clap enum value. Wait. No, driving requires, yeah. Okay, develop value T. When driving parser, a field whose type is enum value can have an app to our enum value. Okay, so. Is that all I have to do? R. Wait. It apparently is not. Oh. When driving parser, a field whose type implement enum or value enum I always want to say enum value. Can have the attribute, which, oh, do I need to put this on the actual enum? Which I can't do because that would put it in the other crate. I don't live in upstate New York. I want to go there to go snowboarding one of these winters. That looks a little cumbersome. Okay, we could just make this a string, right? I don't need to do this. Okay, and then what we're going to do in here is we're going to implement into, right? So the idea will be is like we want to do from string. Yeah. So, okay. Sorry. I was trying to think of the difference between from and input, or into, and which one toggle bit would be upset if I used. I'm going to pick the one that I'm pretty sure a toggle bit would be upset. Let's see. So we want to implement from, right? So from... and we want to do from string. So we want to go from a string to a word list, right? Word list, yeah. Something like this. Yeah, I think this is what we want to do, and then it's like from, right? Okay, and then here we'll have the thing, the thing. I don't know. The word list. The not yet a word list. Right. Okay, so we'll have from, and then this will be a string. Really, this can be a stir, right? Maybe we should do this. Yeah, like this. So from this thing, we want to return a word list, but that would be a self, right? Yeah. Okay, get back there, get back there. Then in this, we can just do a match. This sounds bad. Match on thing. And then here we can do to ANSI lowercase as well, right? Wait. Why? Why did we expect a string but found a stir? Wait, what are we? Well, I'm actually happy to change this to string, right? Wait. Oh, this expression has a type of string. Oh, I see. No, this is, we'll do that as stir. Non-exhaustive patterns, yeah, okay, that's fine. And then we'll do this. And we'll just do this standard word list if they pass in a bad one. We could, like, panic in theory. I think it's, in this case, it's just going to be better to go with the standard. Okay. I did all of that. Oh, because I gotta go main, right? This is where we have the Wordle args. Okay. Okay, this is coming in as a string, and that's fine. What we need here is word list from args dot word list. Boom. Done. You know what? I could do this, but we can also just do this, right? Yeah, we can. And then we're all happy. Done. Not done. Cannot move out of word glitches behind a shared reference. Oh. I see. Actually, this was better the original way. This was better the original way. Why did I do this to myself? Right, and then this is gonna complain, right? Because we don't have a from, so then we'll just do as stir. Oh, it's way down the list. And that will be fine. Okay. I was trying to be lazy and it took more work. Cool. So now will this build? I feel like this will build. But I was wrong. Oh. It's word list. And we want, what word list do we want? We want the challenge word list. Okay, so the next thing, so oxbow should be in this one, right? Oxbow. Beautiful, beautiful. We now have a real word list, one that will give us a challenge when we want it. Now, what I do want, I think which would be cool, is like a dynamic word list, which this is not structured in any way to support a dynamic word list, because this word list actually maps to an actual word list. But what I would love is a dynamic word list that there's 2 O's. There's 2 O's. What I would love is a dynamic word list. So basically, like, if we win the easy one, we can update it, but this is good. We can at least now dynamically change which one we want. Good starting point. All right. It is 1:30. Oh man, it is 1:30. It's almost 1:45 actually. I probably should go and get some work done around the farm. Yeah. I should probably get going, actually. Let me find somebody to raid. You know what? Our favorite Theo is starting. So we'll go ahead and raid our favorite Theo. All right. I have to run. It's getting later. I had fun, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully you join us again next week. I'll look forward to seeing you all for the news. Go say hi to Theo. Theo's cool. He's cool. Go say hi. His stream is just starting, so you just caught it perfect. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Or not tomorrow.